people, welcome to Prep Elevate. In today's video, we'll discuss CAT 23 Slot 3 Parajumbles. We already have two videos uploaded where we discussed the Parajumbles questions which appeared in slot 1 and then slot 2. Today we'll cover the slot 3 questions. Alright, so let's take a good look at it now. Okay, so we have the first question on the screen. I'll just step aside for you to have a good look. Probably you could take a screenshot, try solving it on your own, and then look at the solution. All right? Okay, so before we just understand should we go ahead with the question or not, I always ask you to follow one standard rule that is known as random scanning. So you just look at a couple of words, understand if you know them. If they seem very familiar, that should give you a green flag that, okay, I could look at this question. Same thing we are going to do for this question as well. So randomly I'm scanning, okay? There is no perfect rule to this. So Veena, material scientist, problem. Second statement is pretty lengthy, okay? And the words that I can look at, furnace, manufacturer, robots, looks like, they're trying to explain a process, some industrial process maybe. Third statement, huge quantities, e-waste, salvaged, okay, ceramics. Fourth statement, micro factories, tangle of materials, computers. Overall, I can say that not a lot of words seem very difficult or unfamiliar. Length of the statements are also pretty decent. They're not very lengthy. So I could just look at this question except for statement 2, which looks like a little lengthy. Other than that, it seems sorted. So let us now understand how we should solve this question. Okay. Veena Sahajwala, a materials scientist at the University of New South Wales, believes that there is a new way of solving this problem. Okay. सबसे पहले जब हम ये स्टेटमेंट को पढ़ते हैं तो हमें क्या समझ में आता है? What do we understand from it in the first take itself? There is this word, this problem. Okay, this problem. These words are known as indicator words. They give you an indication of what you could expect. So whenever I read words like this, these, this problem, that means कहीं पे तो ऐसा होना चाहिए where the problem is stated. Okay, so definitely the statement is supposed to technically, logically come after the problem statement where we have discussed this problem and then we are using a word to describe this problem. All right, now statement 2. Her vision is for automated drones, robots, pick out components, put them into a small furnace, smelt them, specific temperature, extract metals, one by one, sent off manufacturers for use. Now you might have understood, by the way, I have read the sentence. I am just trying to read it so that I can make sense. Okay, I am not reading every word with equal amount of stress. Why am I doing this? Because statement 2, first it is lengthy. सब कुछ पढ़ने जाएंगे तो maybe एक take में register भी नहीं होगा. Second reason is that every time that a process is explained, I may not have to know the process to be able to arrange the sentence. अगर कुछ मुझे link मिल जाता है ना, if I am able to find some link with the preceding or following sentence, I'll be able to arrange it. So whenever under exam conditions you find such statements, instead of like doing a deep drill into it, skim करके पढ़ो. ठीक है, skim करके पढ़ो. Come back to it later if needed. All right. अब statement 3. E-waste contains huge quantities of valuable metals, ceramics, plastics that could be salvaged and recycled, although currently not enough of it is. All right. So here we are discussing about e-waste, what it contains, metals, ceramics that could be salvaged. Now salvaged, again, as a word, you should know the meaning of the word salvaged. Salvage is when you make an effort to protect something from destruction. Okay, that is salvaging. So let's say if a house is on fire, the owners of the house tried to salvage as much of household items as they could, okay, before the fire spread. So they are trying to save whatever they could from destruction. So that is the meaning of the word salvage. Okay, to protect something from destruction or to make an effort to protect or save something from destruction. So here we are talking about e-waste, what it contains, and it could be salvaged. Like a part of it, we could save it from destruction. We could utilize it probably for better purposes. And currently, not enough of it is happening. Okay, so when I am reading statement three, I can relate it to statement one. How? What is the relation here? Statement 3 and statement 1. Maybe this is the problem that Veena is talking about, of solving this problem. Okay, that e-waste actually has a lot of valuable materials, but we are not making enough efforts to protect it, to save it, or to utilize it in the best possible way. Okay, we are not recycling it in the best possible way. Probably, there is a link here. Now, she plans to build micro factories that can tease apart the tangle of materials, mobile phones, computers, other e-waste. Okay, so here Ford talks about what we could do to salvage, what we could do to recycle. We could build micro factories. Okay, so they are going to treat materials in the best way possible. They are going to tear apart the tangles, mobile phones. What are the equipments? Mobile phones, computers, other e-waste. Now remember, whenever there are like commas and they state the same idea, even if I don't stress on each word, it is fine. I've understood the drift of it. Okay, now four sentences, three of them pretty simple, second statement a little lengthy, but then it talks about the technical process. Okay, statement one, I have found an indicator word, and immediately I am able to connect 3 and 1. Okay, we are able to connect 3 and 1. So if I have to arrange this, okay, this is the Parajumbles question, we need to find the sequence. So 3 looks like an introductory statement. What are we talking about? We are talking about e-waste and how we are not utilizing it. Okay, we are not recycling it. So I know that 3 and 1 go hand in hand. Okay, 3 and 1 go hand in hand. This is what I know. Now look at statement 2 and statement 4. Statement 4 talks about how we can solve this problem. Okay, so first we have explained what e-waste is, then we have explained about how Mrs. Veena or Miss Veena thinks that we can solve this problem, and then we are talking about how she plans to solve this problem, which is statement 4. We are trying to build micro factories. Okay, so statement 4 should come after this. And then see, there is a word here, vision. Vision is always about the future. Vision is always about the future, something that is not materialized in the 3D. Abhi wo hai nahi, but kabhi na kabhi future mein we want to make this happen. So that is the vision. So all these visionary statements are reserved for the future. Okay, so correct sequence here should be, I'm writing it here, 3 1 4 2. This was an easy question. What should we understand from this question? First of all, this question follows an approach which I like to call as problem to solution approach. Whenever in Parajumbles you have such questions, जहाँ पे पहले कुछ problem के बारे में discuss किया रहता है, and then you have the solution. So always, as a logical way of arrangement, we should first state the problem को इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे, एंड देन वी आर लुकिंग एट स्टेप्स. कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है, दे गिव यू स्टेप बाय स्टेप सोल्यूशन. जैसे यहाँ पे द सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज द क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट वेयर देयर इज अ विजन फॉर द फ्यूचर. इमीडिएट सोल्यूशन इज गिवन इन स्टेटमेंट नंबर 4. ओके, सो दैट इज व्हाई 3 is the introduction, 1 is connected. Remember indicator word, solving this problem. So problem stated, solve the problem. Immediately क्या करेंगे? Micro factories build करेंगे. Long term vision में probably we are going to use automated drones and robots. ठीक है? I hope you've understood this question. Remember, problem to solution approach. All right. Now we'll proceed to the next question. We have the next question on the screen. So I'll again step out and I'll request you people to take a good look at the question, try solving it on your own, and then come back and look at the solution. Okay, we'll start with the usual process. Usual process means what? Just randomly looking at what words are mentioned. Okay, formal learning, education affecting technologies, recognizable impact, scribal culture, listeners to readers, printing press, shifted the learning process, presence of mentor, gave way to reading. All right, here universal literacy. Okay, So the words are not very difficult to register. What are we talking about? We're talking something about learning, education. We're talking about a transformation here. See, listeners to readers. Okay, we have a scribal culture. So I won't say it's a very difficult question. At first glance, it seems manageable, but then we have to look at the sentences in depth to understand that, how could we arrange, right? So let's look at it. All right. First statement. Centuries later, formal learning is still mostly based on reading, even with the widespread use of other possible education affecting technology such as film, radio, and television. Alright, centuries later, okay? That means there is a chronology here probably. कुछ तो पहले भी हुआ है, and then we are talking about centuries later. So this kind of question I could categorize it as chronology based parajumbles, where time is of the essence. So if we have statements that talk about a specific time period, and then there is time lapse, time passes, we are talking about the current scenario now, so that is chronology based. Okay, so always we try to move from the ancient times to present times, and then probably the futuristic approaches there. Correct. So here we are talking about centuries later. Kya hua tha centuries later? What are we talking about? Formal learning. Okay, the formal learning method, what it is based on? Reading. Okay, so reading is a tool, right, on the basis of which learning is impacted. And then the author talks about that we have other technologies like film, radio, they do have an educational impact, television, but then still it is mostly the education is mostly based on reading. Okay. Statement 2. One of the immediate and recognizable impacts of the printing press was on how people learned. Okay, so what happened after we had a printing press? Right, printing press came into the picture. So it was on the learning process, right? In the scribal culture, it primarily involved reading. So memorization was paramount. Paramount means something that is extremely important. Okay, paramount means something that is extremely important. Okay, this is the meaning of the word paramount. So what was the impact of printing press? Was the way in which people learned. Okay, so scribal culture is when there is somebody who is reading something out to you, you are listening, and you are trying to take in as much of it as possible. Okay, you are trying to imbibe knowledge through listening. And then when, let's say, printing press came into picture, what was the result of the printing press? You had something written. Okay, you could read it, right? Instead of having a person just reading out to you, like in a very verbal fashion, you had something written with you. Okay, that was the impact. 1 and 2 so far I have not been able to find an immediate connect. Okay, so 3. The transformation of learners from listeners to readers was a complex social and cultural phenomenon. Okay, so we are talking about the transformation of learners. 2 and 3, thoda sa they seem like connected, immediately connected or not, we'll have to check, but seems like kuch to connection hai, because here we are talking about the the process, and 3 talks about the transformation that happened. Okay, it was a complex social and cultural phenomenon, and it was not until the industrial era that the concept of universal literacy took root. Okay, so here again we are talking about that the transformation happened. So we turned from listeners to readers because of the printing press, and it was a complex process obviously, but then for the entire society to take up the idea of literacy, it took quite a bit of time, and industrial era is when this transformation actually it took that it actually gathered momentum, let us say. Okay, it took roots. Okay, that is what 3 talks about. Now statement 4. The printing press shifted the learning process, as listening and memorization gradually gave way to reading, and learning no longer required the presence of a mentor. It could be done privately. Okay, perfect. So 4 talks about what happened as a result of printing press. In statement 2 also we were talking about the impact of printing press, right? And here again we are talking about what exactly was the impact. So 2 looks like an introduction, okay? We are trying to understand kya hua when printing press came into picture, and 4 exactly states ki exactly kya kya changes हुए, what were the impacts, kya hua. Earlier we had scribal culture, वहाँ पे memorization होता था, a person is going to read out, you're going to listen and memorize as much of it as possible. यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, that was replaced, okay, that gave way to reading and learning. So now you have a piece of paper, वहाँ पे कुछ चीजें लिखी हुई है, you could read it on your own. So उससे क्या होगा, you no longer require a mentor, you don't need anybody else to be present there to read out things to you, and then you don't have to memorize. So वहाँ पे you have a piece of paper, okay. So listening and memorization, it gave way to reading and learning, and it could be done on an individual basis. Now if you have actually understood the explanation, now this should be an easy take. Now I can immediately see that 2 and 4 are connected, ठीक है. यहाँ पे we are talking about impact, here we are exactly listing the impact, shifted the learning process, okay. Then 3 and 1, अच्छा पहले let us arrange this. So I know 2 looks like a good introduction to me, followed by 4. अभी 1 and 3, ठीक है. Remember 1 talks about centuries later. Centuries later मतलब here we are talking about पहले क्या होता था and काफी सालों बाद भी क्या हो रहा है, ठीक है. So काफी सालों बाद क्या हो रहा है, that should be the closing statement, okay. That is the present that we have. उसके पहले जो भी हो चुका है for us वो past में हो चुका है. So this transformation of learners from listeners to readers, this should come after 4 and then closed with 1 कि centuries later भी formal learning is mostly based on reading. So start हुआ था printing press से, जहाँ पे this reading culture came into picture. Scribal culture को थोड़ा सा उसमें transform कर दिया गया. We transformed from let's say learners to readers, and अभी centuries later भी क्या हो रहा है, that the reading remains the most impactful, okay, form of formal learning, okay. So actual what should be the sequence, it should be 2, 4, 3 and 1. So यहाँ पे क्या discuss किया हमने, we learnt about chronology as far as Parajumbles is concerned. So यहाँ पे we had an indicator word, we had 2 statements which were closely related, and then 1 we had to arrange depending on our understanding of the passage, ठीक है. So एक ही ऐसा you could find a spot where a little bit of deep scanning was needed, okay. Now these 2 questions appeared in slot 3. The first question, the question prior to this, I would categorize that as easy, okay, that was easy. This I would categorize as medium level, okay. Now depending on your understanding level of difficulty, you can slot it out accordingly. So I hope you have understood both the questions. Practice more questions on Parajumbles, okay. Parajumbles tend to be a little confusing, so practice a lot of these questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.